but the bitter taste was hidden. But many times the mental diets that we take may get past us, and we find out we don't understand the cause and effect. We look at the effects that are detrimental in our individual, family, community, life, but we many times don't recognize the cause and effect. So for every effect there's a cause. So we cannot afford to ignore cause and effect, the process of cause and effect. And so there are many areas of education that we really need to become aware of, just being aware of who we are, self-awareness of who we are. You know, people don't know themselves. There's a powerful African proverb that says, a people without knowledge of themselves is like a tree without roots. We don't have knowledge of yourself, we're just like a tree without roots, and we know a tree without roots is literally dead. And so it's imperative that we become knowledgeable of self if we expect to be alive. And so that has a lot of merit as far as that African proverb. That brings my attention to another African proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. And many times we are our own worst enemy. You know, and so you look at the scheme of the Wizard of Oz. That has a lot of merit when it comes to the game that's played on individual life. You know, where they were really deceived by ignorance, not knowing the power of ignorance, of not knowing and not knowing that they had the power all the time. You know, so we are more powerful than we think. You know, but we have to become aware of who we are and stop allowing roadblocks that have been put in place to keep us from being aware of who we are. And so there are many areas of education that we need to realize. Health education, for example. You know, the importance of health education. You know, we have to wait till we're almost dead before we start trying to study how to stay alive. We shouldn't be reactive. We should be proactive. And so that's a different mindset that we have to switch from not being reactive to something, but proactive. We have to take charge. We can't wait for things to happen. We have to be aware and take things in charge, so when they do happen, we have things already set into place to know how to deal with whatever happens. So there are many things that can be brought to mind as far as liberation, as far as independence, as far as total enlightenment, enrichment, that we can come into by a new mind, because Imam Deen Mohammed, one of the main focuses that he tried to get us conscious of was a new mind. In other words, come out the old dead mind. Come out that slave mind that imprisoned us and still have us imprisoned in 2011. You know, the Willie Lynch leather, or whatever that scheme was designed to control us for some 300 years. It was written in 1712. Well, 2012 is the 300 years. But the way it's going, we may be enslaved longer than that if we don't turn things around. You know, look how powerful the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was with a third grade academic education. And so if we keep looking at academics as far as that's what education is, but nevertheless, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had third grade education, but look how much of a giant he was when it came to economic potency, economic power. So that shouldn't be too hard for us to understand that he was very knowledgeable and intelligent when it came to economic intelligence. And so there are many areas where we cannot continue to allow us to be sidetracked and non-productive because of a mindset thinking we don't qualify. You know, that's one of the things that keep us in prisons, when we think we can't qualify or we're not good enough. You know, and like I say, when President Barack Obama made a new vision, a new perception in most of our minds, that was a big eye-opener. Because prior to that time, we just didn't think, you know, when you say, nigga, you think, are you crazy? A black president of the United States? That would never happen. And so we had that ignorant mindset of where we thought certain things would never happen. And so some of us still sitting around today thinking certain things would never happen. And we automatically think when we hear somebody saying what could possibly happen, we still got that old ignorant Negro slave mentality of thinking, nigga, you crazy. But again, that is a slave mind. And so we have to come up out of that, and we have to, befriend people that have a common mindset. That's important for us to know how to choose friends, how to choose acquaintances, versus, how are people attached today. Mostly it's done emotionally, through our passions. And a passion that is very mentally ignorant is really dangerous. A passion that does not have any intelligence as its steering guide is very dangerous. And so, you have to look at what are we doing all the time. We are simultaneously seeking pleasure while at the same time we're trying to avoid what? Pain. It shouldn't have took us a long time to answer that question. That's something we should know immediately. What's 2 plus 2? We know what's 2 plus 2. We should know that simultaneously we are at the same time when we're trying to seek pleasure, at the same time we're trying to avoid pain. We should know that. But most people around the world don't know that right now. That's ignorance. And many people are enslaved to their own passions. I'm going to do what makes me feel good. Well, many people are enslaved by what they thought was good. And it ended up being a trap. That's not hard to understand. So many people are enslaved through their own passions of wanting to feel good, and what they thought was good ended up causing them pain. So it tells us right there that we have to be intelligent. Really intelligent. We're not talking about no ABCs. Now we should know more that education is more than academics. I mean, it's great you get a bachelor's degree, associate degree, a master's degree, a PhD degree, a law degree, a medical degree. All that's great. But it's also important that you become emotionally stable. I mean, you got people with all kinds of degrees and who are not emotionally stable. Is that right? And look at the danger. Here's an airplane pilot know how to drive an airplane, but the man is drunk. That's insanity. And so you have people who exploit people. They are medically inclined where they know the job of their profession, but they are misusing and corrupting with spiritual corruption, moral corruption, where they are allowing greed to dominate their mindset, and so they take advantage of people. In all professions, they are skilled in that profession, but because they are morally corrupt, they take advantage because of greed or emotional imbalance. Emotionally imbalanced. And so that's a lot of problems. That creates a lot of problems. So we're talking about a new mindset, liberation. Coming into a new awareness, liberation. That's a great thing to come into. People for centuries have not had this kind of opportunities that we had in the short 30-some years that Imam Mohammed was on this earth teaching us as he taught us. We don't even know the magnitude of Imam Muhammad, what he allowed the human being as far as the growth in the short 30-some years that he was here as the leader. Can't even imagine the magnitude of what he brought us into as far as real liberation. When he guided us to study the life of Prophet Muhammad, what was the purpose of that? A role model. I mean, that's who we follow, a role model. He led us to the best role model of the world. No. We don't see the significance of that. If we on the physical level, the material level, then we can't see. But when you look at how he initiated our mind to grow, then that was indeed a phenomenal achievement